welcome back guys. So today I'm going to be talking about Mechanix gloves, and I'm sure you are all familiar with Mechanix gloves. If you're not, they're probably one of the most popular shooting gloves on the market, and they're really just kind of good for, I don't know, just about everything. I've had a lot of use with these things specifically. This pair is probably one of my older pairs. I've had this pair for probably about 3 years now, and I use it just about every time I go to the range, and it's cold or chilly outside. These are the Mechanix M-Pact, as you can see right there. These are basically just a standard glove, but as you can see on the hand or on the palm of them, you just have like the normal kind of synthetic leather material on the bottom here, and on this one they added some reinforcement padding to protect your fingers a little bit more. And then on the back side, as you can see, there's no protection on the back side of this one, but this one has kind of some I'm not exactly sure what this is. It's almost like a rubber material right here, but this is all like a rubber material as well, and it's pretty cushiony. But since they have these little relief cuts in here, you still have pretty good dexterity. So these just protect your hands from, say, if you're doing, I don't know, mechanical work, or you're doing yard work with heavy tools or whatever, or you're at the range shooting, going through the woods, whatever. It kind of protects your hands a little bit, because generally your hands are going to get eaten up if you're doing any kind of serious work. So I wear these whenever I mow. I wear these whenever I do yard work. So these aren't the only pairs I have. I have multiple black pairs that I wear for work. I have a couple other just kind of regular variety, like gray type gloves, and a few other colors that I just keep out in my shed. I have their leather ones also. They work pretty well, but compared to other leather gloves I had, they're not as durable, so I can't recommend those necessarily. But they're good for light work, and they are pretty... You don't lose any dexterity with their leather ones compared to, say, other really thick leather gloves. So that's just something to take note. But the main reason I'm making this video is, one, there's already probably tons of videos out there with these type of gloves specifically, the Mechanix. But this is something relatively new, or at least new that I've discovered. Alright, so these, as you can see right here, these have, on the lining, they have the Thinsulate, which is basically their version of insulation. And I've been looking for something like this for a long time, mainly for work, because if you do any sort of outside work anywhere where it's cold, finding gloves that are thin and you still have decent dexterity but are also warm are pretty much impossible to find. I haven't found any. I would be willing to pay $100 for a good pair of gloves that were thin and warm, but so far I haven't found any. I'm sure there's some out there, at least not some that are durable. So I'm not exactly, like, I wouldn't give these things a 10 out of 10, but so far, from what I've used them for, I'd probably give them a good solid 8 or 9 out of 10, again, for what they are. One of the things I don't like about these, they only come in black, at least that's all I could find. If they made these in multicam or, all the other colors, or even brown, I think that would be better, because, again, I would like to use these for whenever I go shooting out at the range in the winter, but black stands out like a sore thumb, and, if you're just at the range, it doesn't really matter, but if you're doing anything woodsy, you might want something that blends in a little bit better. So normally during the summer, I'll use stuff like this, thin gloves, because again, you want to protect your hands. Even just doing stuff like, going to the prone position, and shooting and getting up and down and everything, you're going to cut your hands or scrape your hands on rocks or shell casings or whatever. So something to protect your hands is good, or, just protect you from splinters, say, just picking up stuff. And there's nothing worse than, say, getting a splinter or cut or something, on your hand that's your shooting hand. You're trying to manipulate everything, and it just hurts. So gloves are a obvious, thing that you should have. What I have been using for winter gloves are these. These are the Mechanix. These are just the standard impacts. Again, they have a little bit, because they have that kind of build up here, so they're a little bit thicker. They have this kind of rubber coating on the outside, so they're a little bit thicker material sewn on in various places, so they hold in heat a little bit better. But one thing I don't like about these is these are all small size. I have small girl hands. So, and I wish they actually made a size that was just a little bit smaller in these, because I would actually get those like an extra small, which they do make in some, but I can't find them. These are smalls also, and they fit my hand perfectly. They're not too tight, they're not too loose, they're just about right, the whole Goldilocks thing. But these being smaller, slightly looser, and I don't know if it's just the way that they make those or what, but these have a little bit more space in them, so they're still fine. I can still use everything, and I still have good dexterity. But whenever I'm, say, shooting something, I'll just demonstrate that here. So for the regular glove, obviously you can see empty, nothing in there, no mag, empty. All right, so with a regular Mechanix glove, there's plenty of space inside the trigger guard. One thing that's famous about Glocks is they have kind of small trigger guards. So, and again, I have small fingers, so this isn't an issue for me. But this glove doesn't take up really any more space over, my finger does. So you can see on here, just fine. Can fit, no issue whatsoever. There's no dragging. That's something I've noticed with gloves is a lot of times they'll drag on the bottom of the trigger guard, and I don't like that because it kind of throws off your shot some. So on the M-Pact versions, let's put them on here so you can see. You can see the other ones fit. These are a little bit more loose. You can see there's more material here. Now, granted, these are kind of worn in. You can see right there, kind of almost worn through the glove because I use these things so much. I do have other pairs that I use for whenever I was doing laying concrete slabs or those like paver stones, and I was using these things and I absolutely wrecked a pair of them. But they worked for the whole project, so once I got them, saved my hands. But these, you can see there's more material here. It's kind of more loose. They still fit pretty well, but they're just looser than I would like. You can see right there, the pink on there, those are from simunition rounds. So, side note, if you do simunition training, get yourselves a pair of these gloves because they will absolutely save your fingers. I've gotten hit multiple times in places like this on my other pair of gloves. I have a black pair also. And getting hit in the fingertips or in the fingers at all is horrible. So whenever you have something like this that protects your hand, it helps quite a bit. And again, with these, I'll show you. In the trigger guard, again, I got plenty of space. Again, these are a little bit bigger, so they drag a little bit at the bottom, but hopefully you can see in there, you can still see the gap on either side, so I can still pull the trigger, no problem. So, no problem whatsoever, no dragging, nothing. So, I like those. And these have been the thickest or the thinnest gloves that I can find that still will keep your hands cold or keep your hands warm. And these, I would say, will keep your hands warm down to, I would say probably down to about freezing temperatures if there's no wind. If there's wind, then it's going to eat right through those things. So just know that. But if you're just, moving around, normal activities outside, you're walking around, down to about 32 degrees, you'll be fine with those. And you'll still be able to feel your fingers. Now, if you're just standing there, they may not be warm enough. But as long as you're being active, you'll be fine with those. Now these, and the reason I was looking for these is because those things, it gets cold, it gets below freezing here, or it's really windy all the time, or both, or it's, raining, whatever. I wanted something that was warmer. Because last time I went to the range, even with those things on, because it was so windy, my hands were just numb, so I couldn't feel anything. So I bought these, and I think these are relatively new to the market. I didn't see them probably a year or two ago whenever I was looking, for these, but I haven't looked since then, so maybe they're not that new. But anyway, so these are the M-Pact version, but these are the versions that have the insulation on the inside. So these are the first gloves I've gotten from Mechanix that have insulation on the inside. All the other ones I have are just standard gloves. So wearing these, I wore these to the range. I've used them about 3 range trips so far, and I absolutely love these things. Now, the one thing I don't like about them, to be honest about, well, one is the camo patterns or lack thereof, or different colorations options out there. They only come in black from what I've found. Also, the thing I don't like, and these have, I think, a higher safety rating than these other ones do. If you look, you can tell the padding on there, or the rubber, is just massive. They remind me kind of hockey gloves almost in a way. They're not that thick, but these things have a higher safety rating. So like if you're wearing these in like a warehouse where you have to have, certain spec safety gloves or whatever to protect your hands, like these protect your hands a lot more, but they still have pretty good dexterity. So let me show these off, because these are really what I want to do this video about. The other gloves out there, I mean, everyone knows about them. They work just fine. They're not pig gloves. Pig gloves are like a second pair of skin, but they rip up really easily. So that's kind of a negative to those. So in my hand here, I can grip everything just fine. So you can still pull the trigger just fine. You can see I still got plenty of space in there. The fingertips aren't really any bigger than normal, even with the insulation. Now, if you look in there, you can still see right there, that rubber piece, even with my finger way past where it should be. So say if you got big man hands and you have extra space, just know that that is going to come in contact a little bit with the front of the trigger guard. But again, I'm not touching the trigger right now. It may look like I am, but I'm not. So now I'm touching the trigger. I can come on there. It's got plenty of space to come all the way back off the trigger. Still got space and not rubbing, not coming in contact with anything. So now one thing I wish they would do is pretty much just remove this little tip right here. So make it stop right about here. And I might end up cutting that off at some point. I don't know. It's not that big of a deal. Let me show you with a rifle. So just to show you it's clear. Hopefully you can see down in there. So on here, you can see I got plenty of space on this trigger guard. Like there's absolutely no issue whatsoever. And obviously this trigger guard, this is a Smith & Wesson M&P Sport. And so it has that enlarged trigger guard already. But even with a mil-spec trigger guard, I still have plenty of space in there. I haven't had any issues. One of the things I will say too is doing like magazine changes and everything like that. Now with the Glock or any kind of pistol, you lose a little bit of dexterity. Again, because it's thick and it's got padding, you can't feel stuff as well. But whenever I'm doing mag changes, I don't have an issue with pistol, empty mag, again, gun, empty. So I can push it in just fine, hit the mag release just fine. I can strip the magazine out if I need to. Whenever I'm grabbing a mag, I can grab mags off my belt just fine with this. It's not an issue whatsoever. So you can still hit everything just fine. Not a big deal. Anyways, so hopefully, and you can see right here, slide stop as a slide release. Have at it. You can hit it just fine with that, as you just saw. So I haven't noticed any real drawbacks to using these. They are warmer than those. They're not like, you know, sub-zero temperature gloves by any stretch of the imagination, but we were out there and I think it was around 25 degrees and it was really windy, and these things kept my hands, they weren't toasty, like they were still getting cold, but they were significantly warmer than this. And now if you're out there and it's not windy, I think those would probably be good down to about, you know, in the teens for sure. I was just excited that I was able to finally find some warm or some cold weather gloves that did work and I could still shoot in them and not really have any loss of dexterity. So again, if you're wanting something with a little bit more dexterity, but it's good down to, you know, freezing temperatures and above, these would serve you well, just the regular impacts. If you're wanting something that's good down to the teens, get these with the insulation. And if you're just wanting normal shooting gloves for just, you know, hot weather or whatever, these regular, these are the FastFit ones, but you can buy the regular ones with the Velcro also. Those things work just fine, and I like those quite a bit. I've used the pig gloves just as a comparison, and they actually feel a lot better because, again, it feels like a second layer of skin. But they're more expensive, and they fall apart a lot easier under hard use. Now, if you're just going to the range, those would probably be better. But as a practical glove for, you know, hard use or whatever, you're going to want these. And again, I've had these for a while as well. This is actually my second pair. The first pair, again, like the other stuff, I wore out over time because I use my stuff. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them below. I'll try to answer all of them that I can. Give us a like if you like the stuff. Give us a subscribe. I appreciate it. All right, have a good one, guys.